The Golden Key. Master the universe. You are the universe experiencing itself. Alan Watts. Once you alchemize and integrate the other 7 keys in this book, the golden key to master the universe organically materializes to unlock your evolution and usher you into your natural state of unlimited abundance. Now, what do I mean by the YOU, universe? Well, my favorite toys to play with as a child were Masters of the Universe characters who fittingly live in a world called Eternia. Now, all these years later, as an adult, I have come to the realization that I came here to master the universe, my own private universe. And that the key is to do so with a joyful, playful, childlike heart. Jesus had it right when he said, "Truly I tell you, unless you change and become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven." As I have proposed throughout this book, you are one with the universe, not only physically, but also spiritually. However, it is even more personal and closer to home than you may have ever imagined. Alan Watts touched on how personal it truly is when he said, "What this is saying then is that just as you don't know how you manage to be conscious, how you manage to grow and shape this body of yours, that doesn't mean to say that you're not doing it. Equally, you don't know how the universe shines the stars, constellates the constellations, and galactifies the galaxies. You don't know. But that doesn't mean to say that you aren't doing it in just the same way as you are breathing without knowing how you breathe. How breathtaking it is to realize that we are the universe coming to know itself more fully with each passing moment. A dream God once had. You weren't created on the day you were born into physicality, just like you won't cease to exist when you are born back into the non-physical on the day of your death. The truth is that since you arrived here, you have simply had amnesia to who and what you were prior to your arrival. This reality is nothing more and nothing less than a dream God once had, and you are the dreamer and the dreamed rolled into one. It's the same as if you were to dream at night that a bear is chasing you through the woods. Then wake up in a sweat, grateful that the real you was safe lying in bed dreaming. There was no bear all along. That's what is really going on in this simulated light show we call life on planet Earth. And it's time to wake up to the knowing that this is how God experiences herself throughout eternity, through you. You are God-godding. We forget so that we can have the opportunity to remember, which makes it all new and exciting again. Relative truths. As we further explore what I mean by the term universe, it is important to understand that from an expanded view of reality, although oneness is the foundational truth that encompasses all truths, your universe is actually made up of relative truths, two apparently contradictory things that both hold true. In the Conversations with God book series, this is referred to as a divine dichotomy. So, truth is not strictly absolute. Truth is determined in relation to the context in which we view it. For example, take the following statements. You and I are separate. This is true. You and I are one. This is also true. Both statements are true depending on the vantage point from which we are speaking. As we dissect the ultimate nature of reality, understanding these relative truths will also ensure your head doesn't swell up too big. Because, yes, you are God. However, so is the person next to you on the bus who is experiencing homelessness. God is it all. Whatever you name or point to, it is God. Nothing is outside of God. We are all fractals of the one and only source consciousness that creates and animates all things. Think of Source like those Russian nesting dolls where a smaller replica is nested within each one of the larger versions. Each nested layer is a different vantage point or lens through which Source observes and experiences the vastness of existence and eternity, none of which is more valid or divine than any other vantage point, as every single one of them is necessary to make up the whole of creation and experience. When you truly begin to understand this truth, you realize all judgment is self-judgment, because everywhere you go, you are there waiting for yourself. In the Bible, God was having a dialogue with Moses when God said, "I am that I am." You are what? That. And what is the root of that amness? Consciousness. Source is simply what is left when forms or conceptualizations drop away. So when you drop the that, I am is all that remains, which is arguably the purest and truest name of God. We are the architects of our reality, the lead director and actor in our own movie, the wizard hiding behind the curtain of our own private Oz, if you will. You can now laugh at the irony that you can achieve everything you've ever wanted now that you realize you really don't need any of it. Because you are the one creating the story. You are the one writing the screenplay of your life. I often say the only thing I'm truly good at is spinning a good story. Every situation is neutral, and it is the story you spin that will dictate whether your experience will be positive or unpleasant. As you learn to master the universe, you will become increasingly adept at crafting the best story by seeing the light in others and by realizing that your eternal divine beingness is the ultimate abundance. You will surrender to receive, knowing you're a divine being first and foremost. You are infinite abundance incarnate. And anything you achieve or attract into your world is just icing on the cake compared to this awe-inspiring truth. As we unpack this realization that we are one with all of the abundance we see throughout the entire cosmos, it is important to explore the implications of this on our daily lives. The more we can understand these perspectives in a way that helps us bring it all down to earth and ground it into our human selves, the more successfully we can navigate, harness, and ultimately unleash the abundance lying dormant within our human vessels. Extraordinary. In 2009, Andy Weir wrote a now popular short story called The Egg that I believe comes close to explaining the core truth regarding how reality is structured. In the story, a recently deceased man that has transitioned to the other side is talking to God, and she is explaining the ultimate nature of reality to him. She says, "I made this whole universe for you. With each new life you grow and mature and become a larger and greater intellect." "Just me?" he asks. "What about everyone else?" To which she replies, "There is no one else. In this universe, there's just you and me." God goes on to say, "Every time you victimize someone, you are victimizing yourself. Every act of kindness you've done to yourself. Every happy and sad moment ever experienced by any human was or will be experienced by you." Ultimately, God explains to the man that only after he has reincarnated and experienced every human life will he have grown enough to be born, suggesting that essentially the universe, his universe, is simply his own personal egg. I envision the ultimate nature of reality to be similarly structured to the way Weir describes it. Prior to our exploration as individuated souls, I believe we are completely merged with source consciousness. There is only one of us. At some point, the part of source that is you decided to get adventurous and hatch off from the whole to experience something new, to see what it would be like to be a separate, relatively speaking, node of consciousness. A fractal of the whole, or chip off the block, if you will. And when you embarked on this soul journey sojourn, there were other souls that broke off from source in close energetic proximity to where you separated from. Another way to envision this is if you think of source as an infinite tree with infinite branches. No matter how mind-bogglingly infinite this tree of life happens to be, there are always going to be leaves or branches that are right next to each other, blowing in the winds of eternity. And you could argue that the leaves next to you are more closely related to you than those far away on the other side of the tree. The same way you could say your fingers are more closely related to each other than they are to your toes. Yet ultimately, it's still all one tree or one body. Another one of my favorite interviewees I've had on the Positive Head podcast, former Harvard neurosurgeon and author of the New York Times best-selling book Proof of Heaven, Dr. Eben Alexander, explains that during his harrowing near-death experience, he was shown how we repeatedly reincarnate here in this soul school called Earth. Each of us has a close-knit soul group that is made of the same souls that appear in our earthly life movies time and time again. We embark on the journey of physicality together with our soul family with the aim of playing the necessary roles for one another to help each other evolve and reach our divine potential in a setting that is more conducive to stimulate growth than the perfection from whence we came. And we return again and again to continually refine ourselves within and across lifetimes. In essence, God is the all-pervading, ever-expanding consciousness that infinitely fractalizes and evolves himself through all living things. He is the oak tree hidden in every acorn, awaiting the right conditions to emerge into its full glory, and our soul groups are the perfect soil to create those conditions. Source's eternal self-love story truly is the greatest romance ever written. Roll with the rolls. There are many souls who have played or continue to play important roles in my own life who have interesting connections to my birthday, July 28th. I could fill a short book with all the synchronicities that continue to unfold surrounding my birthday, but for now I will just share a few to highlight my point. I believe myself and these souls make up a part of my close-knit soul group that has repeatedly chosen to reincarnate together so that we may aid in each other's evolution. The synchronicities relating to my birthday are an affirmation to me that these souls are in fact close reflections that I should pay special attention to. Consider first the significance of July 28th on the paternal side of my family. My father was 28 when I was born on his birthday, July 28th. His grandmother, my great-grandmother, was also born on July 28th, and her mother, my great-great-grandmother, passed away on July 28th. Similar to me, my father is extremely passionate about his spirituality. However, in his case, it is in a much more closed-minded, fear-based, conservative Christian context. I consider that perhaps there was another now when I already played the role of my current father, Roger, and at that time, another soul closely related to me was experiencing the avatar of Brandon. Or consider a former close friend and business partner. Both his child's mother and grandmother share my birthday. Through this partnership, I experienced the greatest betrayal, i.e. something to forgive, of my life. However, I consider that perhaps I have already sat on that side of the table where I played that particular villain character, which, interestingly enough, Dr. Eben Alexander says are often the souls we are closest to on the other side. From this expanded view, one might say there has never been a victim in all of eternity. Rather, it's all just spiritual business and soul contracts being divinely honored. Or when I think about the communal property I call the Mystic Manor that I established in 2019, I consider the dozens of colorful characters that have been a vital part of making it what it is. Including one who also shares my birthday, who has been both the most challenging character at some points and the most helpful at others. And at times, he has been an uncanny and obvious reflection of challenging aspects of my own character that I've continually worked to improve. He has triggered those less desirable aspects of myself, bringing them to the surface for further healing. When I consider some of these other close reflections, I sometimes ponder the idea that perhaps I have already played every character in the house, from my own partner Karen, to my roommate with the name Brandon, to the housekeeper, who happens to remind me of my grandmother, which has now led to me being in the role of the steward of the spaceship, as I like to refer to myself since the property looks like a spaceship. Or who knows, Perhaps my character is the beginning point, and Dora, the joyous housekeeper, is the most evolved experience to be had at the Mystic Manor. Who can say for sure? The point is, when you start considering the concept that you have already played or will play every role in existence to experience all the possible vantage points, it begins to sink in that all judgment is self-judgment, and that the amount we judge truly is equivalent to the amount of ignorance we hold. In reality, all judgment is the absence of love, and love is the absence of judgment. The ultimate aim of our journey is to play infinite roles and to evolve over time. I believe when you finish this life and get to the other side, where you are in your development is assessed, and that determines what avatar or human character story arc is a close enough vibrational match for you to drop into and experience next. And this doesn't necessarily mean in the linear future either. You may get to the other side and have the option to be a samurai from the year 1300 or a science officer from the year 3188. I believe we are every human who has ever been or will be. Eternity provides us with infinite runway to try on countless costumes so that we may get a well-rounded experience of all reality. In Weir's short story, The Egg, God says, "You play Hitler and everyone he kills. You play Jesus and everyone who follows him." As challenging as this may be to fathom, I believe it to be true. What we are is not for the faint of heart. It is said by some that those souls who choose to embark into physicality are highly respected and among the bravest to dare experience such extreme separation from Source. But remember, there's nothing to fear because from the most expanded view, it's all happening for love, free will, and destiny. One of the most useful ways I have found to tap into my innate potential to master the universe is to navigate my life from the perspective that our lives play out at the corner of free will and destiny. Early on, I explained how time is an illusion and that your 5th birthday party is happening on another channel right now. You simply aren't tuned into it. Your future birthday party is also happening on another channel right now that you are also not tuned into in this now moment. If we understand this, it is relatively easy for us to conceptualize that everything is destined because it's all happening in the eternal now. But then how can we experience free will? Source is infinitely abundant in both time and energetic resources, and so your higher self is playing out every potential that your human avatar could possibly experience simultaneously on infinite timelines. And you have free will to choose which version of your character you want to experience this time around. Much like in the movie The Matrix Reloaded, Neo meets with the architect and sees many other versions of himself playing out on the TV screens and realizes other versions of his character have been here before. Or when I was in college and had my first psychic reading one day in Atlanta, Georgia. The intuitive woman looked at me and said, "I see you living in a cold place like Chicago, working in business." My jaw hit the floor because at that time I was planning to move to Chicago and work with my uncle's business that was headquartered there. Then she looked at me and said, "But there is a totally different path for you in music." At that time, I had never made music of any kind. However, about a year later, I got inspired to form a band. Shortly after forming my band, I went to another psychic who said that I would move to California to pursue music. Not long after, I met someone with music business connections in California who insisted my band and I should be based there, and after visiting with him, we decided to permanently relocate across the country from Nashville to California. So what I believe the initial psychic in Atlanta was seeing was the two potential Brandons most likely to manifest based on where I was vibrationally at the moment I was sitting in front of her. When you start to consider any possibility for yourself, it is important to realize that no matter how grandiose what you are imagining may seem, if you can imagine it, Source has been there, done that, and gotten the t-shirt. In fact, your higher self is so infinite, it can experience anything you were dreaming up and even things you haven't yet thought of. And this is the abundance that is now accessible for you to tap into. On the backs of giants. It has been said that when the student is ready, the master will appear. A master or teacher that you attract into your life may appear in many forms. Perhaps as a person, or in the form of a book, podcast, online workshop, or some other avenue. Regardless of who and how, if the teacher is legitimate, they will always point you to the same truth. You have the power. This is exactly what many masters throughout history, such as Jesus, Buddha, and Lao Tzu, were teaching. This is also what Adam figured out in the Masters of the Universe cartoons when he would level up and morph into the superhuman He-Man by proclaiming, "I have the power." Unfortunately, the teachings of masters have often been hijacked and misconstrued by those who wish to control others. Ironically, because these misguided leaders never fully understood the teachings themselves, they acquired a lesser level of power than the authentic power they could have accessed. If you examine the teachings of these masters without the lens of those that misinterpreted or manipulated their message, you can clearly see how many of the great spiritual or religious teachings are actually quite aligned with the concepts limned within these pages. Since Jesus is essentially the Beatles of spiritual teachers, let's use him as an example and analyze a few of his quotes. Consider the following. "Very truly I tell you, whoever believes in me will do the works I have been doing, and they will do even greater things than these." This is essentially another way of saying, you have the power, as he is stating that your potential is equal to or even greater than his own powerful, awe-inspiring works. Or when Jesus said, "I and the Father are one," he was referring to oneness. Or in the quote I referenced earlier, "If you have faith as small as a mustard seed, you can say to this mountain, 'Move from here to there,' and it will move." He was teaching the law of attraction. And when a group who were casting stones at him said, "We're not stoning you for any good work, but for blasphemy, because you, a mere man, claim to be God." And he replied, "Is it not written in your law, 'I have said you are gods'?" Jesus was agreeing that yes, he is God, but so are you. It's time to drop the idea that Jesus required worship, because the truth is, he never asked to be put on a pedestal. In fact, he was more interested in service, such as in the well-known story in which he washed his disciples' feet. In essence, he was putting you on the pedestal and continually delivering insights to empower you to master the universe. Many other great masters were also teaching these same truths in various ways. If you wade through all the dogma and get to the core teaching that ties together all of the world's largest religions, such as Christianity, Judaism, Buddhism, Hinduism, Islam, Zoroastrianism, Taoism, and Confucianism, they all teach what is known as the Golden Rule. Do unto others as you would have them to do unto you. Why is this rule crucial and golden? Because, as we have stated, there are no others. All is one, and you are always doing it to self. As Rumi so eloquently said it, "In fact, my soul and yours are the same. You appear in me, I in you. We hide in each other." This is why we receive what we give. This is why service is the path to true abundance. As you move more fully into your own mastery, you realize that a master also embraces whatever shows up because you know you have not only co-created it with your higher self, but it is always put on your path to lead you to the next greatest and grandest version of yourself. Whatever is arising and transpiring is always exactly what you need to sharpen your axe of consciousness, so to speak. Especially when something challenging arises, it is important for us to remember that smooth seas never made for a skilled sailor, and we all came here to become master manifestors and skilled sailors as we sail upon the seas of eternity. Create your masterpiece. I believe the art of manifestation is the next great art form to be highly valued and revered on this planet, and that anyone drawn to this book and content like it is meant to become one of the great artists that usher in the new world by always, in all ways, living from a love-centered place. Now that you have begun to understand the reality that you are the only one in the room and everyone is a prop in your own private movie, that everywhere you go, you're there waiting for yourself, that there are no others, and that your life plays out at the corner of free will and destiny, you have laid the necessary groundwork to utilize the golden key to master the universe. And as it sinks in that you are so abundant that you created everything that you see, every star in the sky, all the abundance on this and all the planets in the universe, you will realize that all the hardships of the world are in some way, shape, or form a reflection of your consciousness, and you can begin to own and accept all of it, knowing that it is self-created and that you have been the one hiding behind the curtain of creation all along. By doing so, you become empowered to help alchemize all the challenges that the world is destined to overcome. You are moving from victimhood to conscious creatorship and mastery. You can now look around and see something you like and say, I did that, and also see something you don't like and say, I did that too. You can playfully navigate through life with a childlike heart, maintaining the core intention to learn and grow from any missteps. Statistical probabilities of how likely it is that you accomplish this or that become nothing more than white noise, because of course you make it. You are the only one here. It's always this or something better. You realize, just like in the movies, when the hero hits a low point, it isn't over if you haven't won yet. And all your challenges are really just blessings in disguise for you to have the joyous experience of overcoming. You are the master of the universe, a stellar sign of abundance. As we step into our childlike selves and take on a more trusting, carefree approach to life, I believe it is important to find ways to play with the universe, which is why I'm going to suggest a super exciting and abundance validating way to do so together in a moment. Before I do, I'd like to share a magical story to show you how abundance can begin to flow when you open your heart, have faith in the universe, and say yes to life by choosing to play. I originally met Vajra, the co-creator of the cover art on this book, a few years ago when he was live painting a stunning piece portraying a being known as the Demiurge that has been described as an artisan-like figure rooted in Platonic philosophy, responsible for fashioning and maintaining the physical universe. Essentially, the artistic being credited for the creation of the cosmos. Sounds a bit familiar, eh? Perhaps a self-portrait? Synchronistically, this live painting was happening at an event produced by my friend Christopher David Jackson called Abundance. When I first saw the Demiurge, I was so blown away by the benevolent power and beauty of the almost completed work that I told Vajra I was interested in buying it. A few days later, we talked on the phone, and he told me that he would sell the Demiurge piece to me for $7,777. At that time, I had not purchased much art and certainly had never paid $7,777 for anything that could be deemed so impractical. However, I really loved the piece. And because I understand the reality that money is only an energetic currency that is meant to flow, as implied by its name, I knew that if the intentions and dynamics of the transaction were pure and positive, which indeed they were, then me buying this painting would ultimately unlock more abundance for us both. So I decided to agree to his price with one condition: if he would be willing to allow me to make monthly payments to him over a few years. He replied that he would, but only if he could give me a print of the Demiurge and delay giving me the original painting until my payments were made in full over those few years. I told him that I really wanted the original while making payments, as that would feel the best to me energetically. He went on to explain to me that he had been burned in a similar situation in the past and didn't feel comfortable trusting me with the original painting prior to me having paid it off. After respectfully sharing with him that I believed his choice to operate from fear instead of love and trust in this situation would actually have the opposite effect of protecting him and would ultimately lead to a lack of abundance, I was still not able to convince him to trust me enough to allow me to take possession of the demiurge painting before paying it off. So as a last-ditch effort, I decided to invite him to play a game with the universe. I explained to him that sometimes when I was unsure about the best course of action to take in a situation, I would ask the universe for a sign. Typically, I will proclaim that if I see or hear X before date Y, then I will take it as a sign to do Z. Example, if I randomly hear someone talk about India in the next 48 hours, then I will take that as a sign that I should accept a recent invitation to attend a retreat there. If I don't hear about India in that time frame, then I won't go. I explained to him that I have seen some wild results playing this game with the universe in the past, and I suggested he may want to consider asking the universe for a sign that I am trustworthy and that selling me the painting under my terms would result in a positive experience. He half-heartedly said he would consider playing the game, and we said our goodbyes. I didn't really expect to hear from him again. However, Vajra did decide to try my idea, although his ask from the universe was fairly out of this world. Since the demiurge he painted is quite cosmic looking, he decided to state that the grandiose sign he would need in order to feel comfortable honoring my terms would be to see an unidentified flying object, UFO, within 2 weeks. At that time, he had witnessed one UFO sighting in his life. And had always wanted to experience seeing another one. Well, the 2 weeks passed without him seeing any UFOs or little green men, so he forgot about our potential deal. However, about 3 weeks later, he was booked to live paint at an event called Disclosure Fest that was focused around disclosing UFO phenomena. During the event, many people actually saw a UFO, including Vajra. He immediately thought of the demiurge sign request he had made, but since more than 2 weeks had passed, technically the sign occurred outside of the parameters of the game, and so he still wasn't entirely convinced to sell me the painting. Now, unbeknownst to us both, we had a close mutual friend named Shane. I was at Shane's house the day before Disclosure Fest, and he showed me an art print he was about to buy, and I said, "That looks like the same artist I was recently trying to buy art from." So I showed him a picture of the demiurge, and we confirmed it was indeed the same artist, Vajra. I explained to Shane that Vajra didn't take my offer to make payments over time, and Shane went on to say that he knew Vajra very well, and he would put in a good word for me. So at Disclosure Fest the next day, Shane happened to run into Vajra, which led to a conversation where Shane expressed to him that I am extremely trustworthy and recommended that he sell me the demiurge painting. So even though the UFO timing was a bit off, the fact that Shane vouched for me on the same day that he witnessed the UFO, Vajra took that as a close enough sign to take my offer. After Disclosure Fest, Vajra reached out to me to tell me he wanted to move forward with selling me the demiurge painting after all. Now, where it gets really interesting is what opened up in both of our lives because he was willing to be playful with the universe, trust the mystery, and open his heart and mind. First, it led to us becoming great friends. Then, when I set up the Mystic Manor, it led to him helping to make it abundant with art by curating and creating one of the world's first visionary art galleries there. And when I began booking guests for my new talk show, Optimistic, I invited him to not only be the first visionary artist guest on episode 1, but to also help me book all the other visionary artists since he is so well connected in that world. Completely by random, I also booked the singer Magica Ohm on episode 1 as my first musical guest. Because of this random booking, Magica Ohm and Vajra connected on the show for the first time that night and fell sanely in love and ended up getting married at the Mystic Manor 4 months later. The reality is, had I not been willing to pay top dollar for visionary art and allow my monetary currency to flow, I would not have opened up an abundant wave of significant value that Vajra ultimately brought into my life by artifying the Mystic Manor, connecting me with so many great artists for Optimistic, co-creating the stellar cover art on this book, not to mention forming what has developed into a very close friendship. Had I not been willing to follow my heart and intuition by allowing my currency to flow towards something that many would deem as frivolous, my currency may have remained stagnant, and I think it is unlikely those same dollars used elsewhere could have possibly yielded experiences as enriching. And had he not been willing to overcome his fear of loss and move into a state of childlike playfulness, as I suggested he do with the game with the universe, he would not have stepped into a timeline where he unlocked the abundance of our friendship and the deep fulfillment he gets from being involved with the Mystic Manor and Optimistic. Not to mention, he would not have connected with the woman who is now the love of his life and wife. Luckily for the both of us, he chose to step into his role as the master of his universe. And now that you are on the path to become the master of your universe and begin your eternal dance with abundance, I would like to invite you to play a game with the universe to unlock the infinite abundance that is your birthright. Care to play a game with the universe? Now that the genie is out of the bottle, there is only one thing to do from here on out. Play away for eternity. Tap into the wonderful vibration of celebration by remembering that abundance is not only your natural state, but also the birthright you are being beckoned to remember. It is your destiny to eternally play among the cosmic fields as the star of the universe that you truly are. And I would like to start off this exciting new chapter of your next now moment by extending an invitation for us to co-create and play together. The game and exercises I am about to explain are intended to yield powerful results for you sometime within the next 88 days. Keep in mind that this game is designed to demonstrate your powerful abundance manifestation abilities over a relatively short period of time so that you get excited, inspired, and accustomed to playing with the universe in this way for the rest of your life. Step 1. So to kick off this abundance-generating game with the universe, I want you to take a moment to close your eyes and ask yourself, if you had to quantify it, what is the monetary value of this book to you? What do you feel is the honest value of the golden key you now hold in your pocket? And more importantly, how much abundance do you wish to cultivate in your life? Because now I'm inviting you to go to goldenkey.gift to make a monetary contribution for any amount you choose. For whatever currency amount you opt to flow into this game, we are going to set the co-creative intention that it will act as a seed that will sprout and multiply into greater abundance for you within the next 88 days. So don't just choose a number based on what your brain tells you is a reasonable amount. Instead, authentically ask in your heart what currency amount will feel like a mutually rewarding energetic exchange. I encourage you to perhaps push yourself a little bit out of your comfort zone and choose a contribution amount that allows you the experience of generosity without completely breaking your bank, of course. Because as much as I want you to stretch yourself energetically in every way with this game, for both of our sakes, please don't get evicted in the process because I only have so much room on my couch. I just want to give you the opportunity to create a feeling of abundance within yourself by choosing to spend money when you really aren't required to. And keep in mind, the financial contribution amount is relative. It is safe to say that for the vast majority of you, contributing $50 would be a bigger energetic stretch than the richest man in the world, Jeff Bezos, contributing $500,000. So it is less about the exact dollar amount you choose and more about tapping into a feeling of being intentionally generous with your offering, which is the spark that catalyzes abundance to generously flow back to you. One of the other main reasons I'm giving you the option to monetarily contribute to this game is to give you an opportunity to take action to demonstrate to the universe that you are ready to begin your journey toward unlocking infinite abundance by picking up the first key, see the oneness, and turning it in its lock. The separation between us is an illusion. I am you and you are me. Everything you do to yourself. This is why this counterintuitive approach, giving in order to receive, works, because any amount you give, you're essentially giving to yourself. So then the question becomes, what do you think you are worth? How much do you feel you deserve, and how willing and receptive are you to receive? Whenever you choose to give more than is required of you in this life, you are consciously choosing to tune into the higher frequency of abundance. And since reality always mirrors back the vibrations we put out, you will be attracting more abundance into your life by doing so. This is why the famous saying, "You get what you give," is such a powerful universal truth. I like to say, you get what you give and then some. Regardless of the amount that you choose, set the intention for your contribution to act as the symbolic marker and catalyst for the amount of abundance you wish to unlock in your life. Some of you may find your contribution amount flows back to you threefold, sevenfold, or even tenfold through some unforeseen currency stream, similar to what occurred for Dr. Bruce Lipton in the mind-blowing story I'm about to share. Others of you may attract a new fulfilling relationship or see major improvements in your health. Still others may find your schedule shifts to allow you more time to focus on doing what you love. There's really no limit to the varied ways abundance can manifest in your movie. In the coming pages, you will be guided through several simple yet powerful exercises to help you catalyze these real, tangible results. Abundance can come in a myriad of forms, so be sure to keep your eyes, ears, and heart open with a sense of healthy expectation and attachment. And as you and the other readers play this game, magical stories of synchronicity and abundance will inevitably unfold. And at goldenkey.gift, you will have the opportunity to share your results as well as see the inspiring results of others. Also, since you know the importance of where you choose to align your energy and intentions, I feel it is imperative to let you know that my primary intention with the currency I receive from this game is to use it to bring more consciousness elevating material and media to the world. Flashy sports cars never really did it for me anyway, and as I mentioned at the beginning, I intend to practice what I preach when I say we should let currency flow when it is attached to an intention that is positive and pure, because I sincerely believe that's how it comes back to us many-fold. This is why, when you opt to play the game at goldenkey.gift, you will automatically be registered as a Keymaster. As a Keymaster, you will receive 50% of the revenue generated from anyone who you share your personal free book download code with, who also decides to play this game with the universe. Further details at goldenkey.gift. Helping you to unlock more financial abundance in this way is the good kind of selfish, because if you win, I win. Besides, this isn't just my information in this book, it's ours. And I want you to be inspired to share it with the other yous and me's out there who really need and are ready to receive it. This game is meant to be a fun way to cultivate mutual abundance by spreading the wisdom of these keys and inviting as many people as possible to flow abundant energy into this game with the universe. Just as the butterfly spreads pollen between plants, you will be spreading empowering wisdom and seeds of abundance to anyone you choose to share your code with. And the natural byproduct will be more monetary energy and golden experiences for all of us to share. Indeed, it's true. A rising tide raises all ships. So again, if you haven't already made your monetary contribution at goldenkey.gift, go do so now to get the currency flowing. In the moment you are consciously choosing to pay for something you aren't required to spend money on, sit back and take a moment to notice how amazing and empowered you feel. That's the wonderful vibration of abundance that you have drummed up within yourself, which is the first ripple of currency flowing outward from you, which will ultimately grow into a swelling wave that inevitably comes crashing back upon your own shores. Step 2. Next, ask yourself what form or forms of abundance you would most like to unlock over the next 88 days and beyond. Here are a few foundational forms to consider. Physical healing, mental, emotional healing, monetary, financial, wealth, fulfilling relationship, friendship, meaningful experience, support, free time, travel, peace, happiness, joy, career, employment, hobbies, talents, knowledge, wisdom, perception, intuition. You may choose one or multiple of the aforementioned forms of abundance, or any other form you come up with on your own. Take a moment now to really feel into what it is that you desire. What are you seeking most? What do you want to experience more of in your life? Take your time. I recommend sitting in a quiet place, away from any noise or distractions. Close your eyes. Take a few deep breaths to help you become more aware of your body and focus inward. Now imagine yourself as the greatest and grandest version of you. What does that feel like? What is this ideal version of yourself doing? What are you wearing? Where are you? Are there others with you, or are you alone? Allow yourself to be playful and open your imagination so that the vision that wants to flow through can flow through. The answers that come to you will give you clues as to the form or forms of abundance that your soul is most craving. Do this exercise with an open mind and heart. Try not to judge what you think or what you see. When you allow your imagination to carry you in this way, you are gleaning a unique glimpse into the joyful quintessence of your being, which is home to all of the abundance which you seek. Step 3. Now that you have a clearer vision of the form or forms of abundance which you wish to unlock, it's time to pluck your manifestation desires from the ethers. Write them down on paper or document them in some other way. Think of this as the first exciting step toward them beginning to manifest physically. You may be wondering how detailed you should be in this written expression of your desires. You should be as detailed or as general as feels right to you. Both approaches are valid and will lead to an influx of abundance as long as your intentions remain positive and pure. If you opt to go for a more detailed manifestation approach, I recommend setting specific intention or intentions for whatever details are most important to you, such as, I intend to manifest a new job with these specific hours, this level of pay, doing this type of work. I intend to manifest X amount of financial abundance. I intend to attract a fulfilling new relationship within the next X months with a partner who possesses X attributes. Dr. Bruce Lipton shared an epic example of this type of specific manifestation approach when he was on episode 161 of the Positive Head podcast. In this story, he shared multiple synchronicities that wove together in fascinating ways, one of which involved a pivotal part of his journey self-publishing The Biology of Belief. He was put in a position in which he needed to very quickly manifest $30,000 to put toward book printing in order to capitalize on a series of fortuitous events which led to Amazon highlighting his book in national newspapers in honor of their 10-year anniversary. So his wife, Margaret, proceeded to do a series of abundance manifestation exercises, including speaking to the universe, explicitly stating what she was calling in, much like you are doing in this step. They trusted that because the underlying intention of the book was to spread empowering information, abundance would flow to them, in the form they were requesting or something better. Within 1 week, Margaret received an unexpected letter informing her that a building she had bought shares in 15 years prior, but had not thought about in many years, had been sold, and she would soon receive a large check for her portion of the sale. When they learned the amount they would receive, they were ecstatic because it was 10 times what they had asked for, $300,000. This is a great example of you get what you give and then some, when you're in alignment with your purpose and have a pure intention to benefit others. Alternatively, you can remain more general in your intentions. Since we can't always see the big picture in the same way our higher self can, sometimes it's best not to be too worried about the specifics and instead focus on the underlying experience we hope to achieve from whatever we are wishing to attract. Here's an example. Perhaps instead of being super specific and saying, I want to meet a man that is at least 6 foot tall, with olive skin and brown eyes, who is between the ages of 30 and 32 years old. Ask yourself, what is the underlying experience that you are seeking from manifesting a new partner with this description? Is it really crucial that this person be 6 foot tall? Or at a deeper level, is it a fulfilling connection which you are truly seeking, and you just like the idea of having it happen with someone that you feel comfortable wearing high heels around? If you indeed manifest this person and they turn out to be a total jerk, you may be better off just wearing flats. Remember, there are infinite ways the universe can fulfill your core desires. So that's why in many cases, I recommend being general and only focus on the foundational forms of abundance you wish to manifest. Because if your intentions are positive and pure, then your higher self will gladly fill in the details. Whether you choose to be more detailed or more general, write it down. You may record just one or a few words, or you may fill an entire piece of paper documenting your desires. There is no wrong way to do this. Just allow whatever wants to come through to flow through. Once you have the forms of abundance that you are calling in documented, read them out loud repeatedly and revisit them regularly over the next 88 days to continue vibrationally anchoring them into your world. Lastly, to help anchor them in even further, it's important to drum up and amplify the vibration of abundance regularly by implementing the key word in the law of attraction, inspired, disciplined action. So now I will share 3 simple yet powerful exercises to help you consistently drum up the vibration of abundance that you have begun tapping into.